Hi, I'm Philip. Let's talk about how to run an ancient writing activity session. Hands-on activities are a great way of getting to grips with ancient writing, not just because they're fun, but also because they give you a chance to understand the practical aspects of writing. It can make a huge difference what you're writing on and what tools you're using, and by trying it yourself you'll get a really good sense of this. The ancient writing systems we've provided resources for are split into two main groups. There are ones that were mainly written on clay, like alphabetic cuneiform or linear B, and ones that were written on flat surfaces like paper or papyrus, such as the Greek or Phoenician alphabets. It's easy to run activities focusing on either of these, or to do both at the same time. Let's start with the clay-based writing systems. You'll need a few things for a clay activity session. The most obvious one is clay. We use basic air-drying clay you can get from any art or craft shop, or online. Depending on the group size, you'll probably need a few packs. As you'd probably expect, anything involving clay can get a bit messy, so it's a good idea to put newspaper down and have paper towels on hand. You're also going to need something to write with. This is going to depend on what writing system you're aiming to use. For linear B, a bamboo skewer or cocktail stick works well. For alphabetic cuneiform, you'll want to use the wrong end of a wooden chopstick. It works best if this has a nice crisp rectangular cross-section. Finally, you'll need worksheets with the ancient writing systems on. The Writing in the Ancient World resource packs each include one of these. They're geared towards getting students to write their names in the ancient writing systems, but of course you can have them try and write anything. We've tried to make these sheets as simple and self-explanatory as possible, but it's important to bear in mind that these scripts don't include all the same range of sounds as our own alphabet. You might find that there isn't a direct equivalent to a letter used in the English spelling of a name. For example, if you're trying to write in the Greek alphabet, you'll find that there's no J sound. An important rule of thumb is to think about the way a name or word is pronounced, not its English spelling, and to try and find the nearest way to represent the sounds in the writing system. This is something we do all the time when names and words move between different languages and different writing systems. There's lots of guidance on the sheets, in the resource packs, and in the Write with Crews videos that we've put on YouTube. The most important thing is to get an experience for how the writing system works, not to get hung up on the finer details of spelling. Okay, so we've got our materials together. How do we get started? Most of the time, if you're writing on clay, you'll be using a tablet. This isn't always the case, but it's by far the most common and the easiest to make. The size and shapes of tablets could vary a bit from one culture to another, but often they'd be similar in size and shape to a mobile phone, a convenient size for holding in your hand. You can make the tablets as big or small as you need to, but something the size of a phone or playing card is a good place to start. It doesn't matter too much how thick the tablet is. Ancient ones could be a couple of centimetres thick, so that they keep their shape when you hold them, but you can make them thinner if your students will be keeping them mostly flat on the table. Ancient tablets weren't perfectly flat and the corners tend to be quite rounded. A good way to make them is to roll up a ball of clay and then flatten it roughly between the hands. You don't need to worry too much. The main thing is that the surface is fairly smooth. You can use a little water to smooth it if you need to. When it comes to making the marks, this depends a lot on the writing system. With linear B, you draw your sign with the point of your skewer or cocktail stick, just like a pen on paper. You'll find that you get different results depending on how soft the clay is, how hard you press, and so on. This is authentic to what we see in ancient examples. Alphabetic cuneiform works differently. The word cuneiform just means wedge-shaped. It gets its name from the fact that all the signs are made up of little triangular wedges pressed into the clay, using the corner of the writing tool. In cuneiform, you don't draw the shape of the sign, you just press the corner of your stylus into the clay at different angles to make a set of triangular impressions. This will take a bit of practice. It's a good idea to give the students a scrap bit of clay and have them practice just making wedges before they try making an actual sign. But after a few minutes they will get the hang of it. Once they do, it's a very quick and efficient way of writing. The important thing to focus on with making cuneiform wedges is to make sure the chopstick goes into the clay corner first. If you hold it too flat, you'll get a rectangle, not a wedge. That's basically all there is to a clay writing session. For older or more confident students, you might ask them to think about how things like the softness of the clay or the shape of the signs make writing easier or harder. Cuneiform in particular is designed for writing on clay. It takes a lot more time to write cuneiform signs on paper, whereas the simple wedge impressions are much better suited for writing in clay than complicated signs with lots of curves. Maybe try having students try writing joined up English writing on clay and compare the two. Let's talk now about papyrus or paper-based writing systems. These kind of sessions work in exactly the same way but without the added complication of the clay. Often we run both kinds at the same time so that students can experience as many different writing systems as possible. But of course you can just do one or the other. You can buy papyrus fairly cheaply online, and it can easily be cut down into smaller pieces for students to use. It's best to use a marker pen or felt tip to write on it. But it's not absolutely essential that you have actual papyrus for this activity. You can just as easily get a feel for writing systems like Egyptian hieroglyphs or the Greek or Phoenician alphabets by using ordinary paper. It's a simple matter of using the worksheets to find the right signs and then copying them onto the papyrus or paper. If you're using papyrus, it can sometimes help to have some scrap paper available so students can plan out what they want to write before they commit it to the actual papyrus. I hope this has been useful. Running one of these activities isn't difficult, and they can be extremely rewarding for students of all ages, from the earliest years of primary school all the way through to university level. There really is no better way of understanding what's involved in using an ancient writing system, and the link between writing, culture, and the materials and implements that you're using.